Okay, this is the review for the final exam. This is part 1 of the exam, and I'm probably going to get through page 1 and 2, maybe 3. All right, here we go. So enharmonic, what does enharmonic mean? It means the same pitch, different name. Like, if I draw the keyboard here, this is a C, so this would be a C sharp. This is a D, so this is a D flat. So they both sound the same. C sharp and D flat sound the same, but they're spelled differently. They have a different name. Okay, sounds the same pitch, but a different name. Okay, relative scales. Relative scales have same key signature, but different tonic. Like in your chart of importance, 0 sharps and flats, C major is across from A minor. They both have no sharps or flats, but A is the same, this A is the same scale as this C, except it's starting on A and ending on A, and this C is starting on C and ending on C, but they both have no sharps or flats. They're relatives. Okay, if we go up one, let's go up one. This is the key of G major or E minor. They both share the same key, but they have different tonics, starting notes. Okay. Music theory is the study of music. Intervals. An interval is the distance between two notes. Now, it doesn't matter which note is on the bottom, or it is second. It only matters which note's below. You count up from the lowest note no matter where it is. Okay, so if you had a C up to E, no matter where it is on the staff, if that E was after, like say it came over here, and C, but C is still lower. Okay, so C is 1, D, which is missing right here, right? D would be 2, E would be 3. So this is a third. It's the distance between two notes. Okay, a leading tone is the 7th scale degree in a major key. Because in a minor key, it would be a subtonic. It would be a whole step from the tonic. And in a major key, it's the leading tone. The 7th tone is the leading tone because it wants to go up to that tonic, T. It would be T in the scale. Okay, so diatonic means it's in the key. Like take, for example, the key of C. Key of C does not have an F sharp. It's not in the key. It has an F natural. F natural's in the key. Okay, if it's not in the key, if it's not in the key, because no sharps or flats, say you're in the key of B flat, B is not in the key. It's not diatonic, it's chromatic. B flat is in the key. So diatonic would be notes in the key. Okay, major scale. A major scale, scale is the word ladder in Greek. So you go up and down the ladder to this formula: whole step, half step, whole step, half step. In other words, two tetrachords, whole, half, whole, half, put together by a whole step. And these half steps here between E and F, like say if you're in the key of C, E and F and B and C, you would take out the half steps. Okay. Triplet is to divide the beat into 3 equal parts. And you have to have a 3 above it to show that it's divided into 3 equal parts. And it's found in simple time. This is the beat in compound time. So you don't need the 3 above it. It's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bump, 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 bump. But if you want to get that equal division in a simple time, bump, 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 1 and 2 and 3, and you have to put the 3 above it and borrow it from compound time. So it's dividing the beat into 3 equal parts. Syncopation is to shift the accent to a weak beat. You can do that by starting on an upbeat, which this would do. Like if you went 1 and 2, it would start on the upbeat and then finish off the 2 by going and. Or you can have, this would be 2, 4. Okay. You can do this. You can put in an 8th rest. And then, so this would be still 1 and 2. And I could put a dot here, and. It's still starting on the upbeat. So it's shifting that accent from the strong beat, which is always beat 1, always beat, the strongest beat is always beat 1, no matter what meter you're in. If you put a rest on beat 1, you're guaranteed to make syncopation. Okay, parallel scales. Parallel scales are the opposite of relative scales, right? They're like C and C minor. C equals no sharps or flats, right? And C minor equals 3 flats. So it's the same starting note or tonic with different key signature. Okay, you gotta know those. Okay, this right here, you need this for a measure of 4/2 because there's no other way you can fill a 4/2 measure with one note. So that means that this note's only going to get, because the half note gets 1 beat, this is only going to get 2 beats. So you need this brev to get 4 beats. But normally, it's going to get 8 beats. Like a whole note gets 4 beats, this gets 8 beats. Oh, I'm going to name it. I got to name it brev first. It's a brev. B-R-E-V-E, and it gets 8 beats. Or some places I've seen it called a double whole note. That's not too often though. Okay, this is a 16th note. And it's 1/16 of a 4-beat measure. So therefore, it takes 16 of them to fill a 4-beat measure. So if I take and I figure out how much that's worth, it's worth 1/4 of a beat. One quarter of a beat. This is a natural sign. And it returns the note to the white key. This is double sharp, double sharp, double sharp. And it raises a white key note, two half steps or a whole step. Five lines, 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And depending on their names, that you have to have a clef for that. But that right there alone is the staff. And what it does is, combined with the clef, it tells you the pitch. Okay, this is a sharp. And it raises a white note, a half step. Say I had a note that was flatted before, and then I sharped it. Now it's going to raise the note a whole step, because it's got to go to natural first, then up to sharp. So it raises a white key, a half step up. Double flat. Okay, this lowers a white key or a white note a whole step. Lowers a white note a whole step. Okay, this is a double bar line. And it separates this one with the thin and the thin line like that together would separate the different sections. It would divide different sections in a piece. if you had a big one following a little one, that would be the end of a piece. Double bar line. That's a double bar line, and that's a double bar line. Okay, these are accents. And what happens is, if a note has an accent, that means it's louder than the notes around it. So it makes the note louder than the notes around it. This is a G clef or a treble clef. Either one is acceptable. It swirls around and shows you where the second line G is. So you can either call it G clef or a treble clef, and it names the second line G. That's a half note, and adding that dot gives it half note's worth 2 beats. That dot changes its amount of time, how much it's worth. If it's following 2 beats, it's worth half of 2 beats, so plus 1. So that would be 3 beats. If it was a quarter note with a dot, that's going to change the amount it's worth. So this is worth 1 beat. That's worth a half of what the note is worth. So this is 1 beat. That dot would be worth a half of 1. So it'd be worth a half. So it'd be equal to 1.5 beats. So, but this right here, let's stick to that. That's a dotted half note. Or in other words, half note or half of a 4-beat measure, which is common time, right? And it gets 3 beats. Okay. All right, this is rhythmic notation indicates the length or duration for which you hold a note or rest. Okay, scale degrees. 1, tonic. 2, supertonic. 3, mediant. 4, subdominant. 5 is dominant. 6 is submediant. And 7 is leading tone. In other words, this is the first scale degree, second scale degree, third scale degree, fourth scale degree, fifth scale degree, sixth scale degree, and seventh scale degree. All right, depending on which scale you're doing. If you're doing C, C would be 1, or the first scale degree. If you're doing G, G would be 1, or the first scale degree. And then you go up, 2 would be the next letter in the G scale, or the supertonic. Okay, write 3 compound time signatures. All you need is the numbers 6, 9, or 12 on top. That's it. The bottom number is just the name of a note. So if you have a quarter note, the bottom number would be 4. If you have an eighth note, sorry. If you have an eighth note, the bottom number would be 8. If you have a 16th note, the bottom number would be 16. So, in other words, I can put, as long as the top number is 6, 9, or 12, I can do this, 6, 6, 6, and change the note that's on the bottom. There is no 12 note. There's no note that would use the number 12. There's no 3 note. This happens all the time. If somebody would put 3 down here, well, I don't know what note that would represent. This represents a quarter note. This represents an eighth note. This represents a 16th note. 12, what does that represent? There's no 12th note. There's a 16th note, a 32nd note, and so forth. Okay. If the beat is consistently divided into 2 equal parts, the term is simple. If the beat is divided into 3 equal parts, the term is compound. These divide the beat. There's only 2 of them, simple and compound. This is compound with 6, 9, or 12 on top. Define syncopation. I already did that. It's to shift the accent to a weak beat. Okay, use rhythmic notation indicates syncopation 3 different ways. Okay, so I got 3 beats in a measure. 1, 2, 3, bar line. 1, 2, 3, bar line. Double bar line because it's the end. And I could just tie over my weak beat to the very strongest beat. And now I'm shifting my strong beat to the second beat. That's hemiola. That's a type of syncopation. I can take and shorten shorten my first beat, so this would be 1 and 2 and 3, and then I have to end it with a half a beat because I only have a half a beat here. So that's a full beat, that's a full beat, and 2 halves make another whole, so that'd be 3 beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. So every time you shift the beat to the and is or the weak beat, which is the upbeat is always the weak beat, you'll get syncopation. I can use simply a rest on the first beat. That will shift my accent to the next beat, which is a weak beat. Beat 2 and a 3/4 is a weak beat. Okay. Now, the top number of a time signature indicates how many beats are in a measure. The bottom number indicates what note gets the beat. Compare melodic and harmonic minors. Okay, I'm going to start with harmonic minor. Okay, it's a scale. It's minor scale, let me say. It's a minor scale, so you got to have the minor key signature. Like E minor would be 1 sharp, it wouldn't be G major. Okay, so it's got to be E minor or the minor key signature. So it's a minor scale. With a raised 7th. In other words, you're putting back in T. Okay? That's the harmonic. The melodic is a minor scale with a raised sixth and seventh going up. But going down, you lower it back down a half step to return to the key signature. So going back down, you return it to the key signature. So if it's flatted, you will make it natural. That'll raise it a half step, right? If it's flatted, you'll make it a natural. If it's natural, you will make it a sharp. If it's already a sharp, you're going to have to make it a double sharp going up. But then you need to lower it back down to what it was before you turned it into the half step higher. Okay.